Booyah. See if anybody pops on. Might take a few minutes. Clean my pockets out with sawdust. Clean the sawdust out of my pocket. Oh, we got one person. Who's on there? Show yourself. Who are you? Who's on there? Speak. Andrew Scott. Hey, bud. Just about to head to bed. I hear you. We're doing late night shop shenanigans. Oh, we got two people. Oh, one person. Leonard, what's up, bud? Got a little saw project going on here. Decided to pop on here. We haven't been live in a while. We just figured we'd see if anybody would come on here and talk. It's good, bud. It's real good. Leonard, you ever seen one of these? It's a Poland Pro 475. Pretty sweet saw. Yeah. Trying to see if we get anybody else on here. Yeah. Got the transfers all epoxied up. Ready. Got the cylinder all ported. Got it in the wash. About to pull it out now. Hopefully be able to start assembly here soon. Oh, you're still going to wash it a little. Oh, did you not start earlier?
Huh?
Did you not start earlier?
I started here.
Oh, well, okay. We're just starting the wash.
It's not quite hot yet, but it'll be hot by the time.
Clean the cylinder up. Clean the cylinder up. Get all the metal and dust and dirt out of it. Shake it. Need some more people to come on. I know this is random though. Hopefully we get some people to come on here in the next little bit. Late night chit chat. Still on there, Leonard? Or Andrew Scott? Showing we still got one person. Which one of you is it? Yeah.
That's it.
Wide open. All or nothing. Wide open or nothing. Yeah, that's kind of annoying. That's not very good for being able to grind.
It's okay for that thing.
Well, Leonard, since you're on here, we'll talk to you. And since you're the one and only we got the lathe in here and set it up, so we'll be able to do more machining now. Be able to do better machining on the cylinders. and various other things along with the DRO. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's old Doug. Doug the shop cat. Doug or Douglas. Meow. Chainsaws. Some you don't see every day, too. Oh, yeah. I don't know why, Andrew, but it's only showing that there's only one of you on here. That's why I keep thinking that there's only Leonard. But on my end, it's only showing one. Whew. All the chainsaw parts. Yankee! Oh, we're doing saw work, bud. You know that's how it is. We always do late night saw work. What are you doing up this late? I ain't talked to you in a while. Heard life's been a little rough, Yank. Jeremy was telling me a little bit about some stuff. I won't get into details on here, but if you want to talk about it, you can message me later or tomorrow or whenever you got time. Just passing the time, huh? Are you at home? I bet, bud. I've heard some. I ain't heard your side of it, but I've heard about it. Just fixing to do some epoxy. Yeah, that'd be good, bud. I ain't talked to you in a while. I'd like to talk to you. Your phone number's still the same, I assume. Because if it is, I've still got your phone number. I'm pretty sure. Oh, okay. Okay, that'd be good. Mine's still the same too, so you should still have it. Oh, we got another one, Majestic Hunter. How you doing, bud? Old Douglas. All right. Well, if you don't, just message me somehow or whatever, and I'll get it to you. So that way you got it. Oh, stepped on Doug. Look at all the saws, Yank. No, this is my, I think, third live, bud. Third live feed. We ain't done one in a while because I've had a lot going on, but I'm going to start trying to do more of them again and start trying to make more videos again. I don't know if you heard or not, but my grandpa just passed away, so we've been dealing with that. It's been a lot of stuff going on. Not really had a lot of time to make videos. Douglas. It's Douglas. Shop cap. Oh yeah, he likes that. Yes, I like that. See, I'm more like a dog. Yeah, it is what it is, bud. He's not suffering no more. It's cancer. Cancer got him. He's not suffering anymore. He's with the good Lord now. So that's I'm glad to know that. You know, it makes it a little easier to know that. But dang, we got 5 people on here now. Oh, 4. 4 people on here. Wow. Didn't expect that many people to hop on. Doug. He likes attention. Douglas. Yes, sir, buddy. I'm glad, buddy. I'm glad, Leonard. It's good to talk to you. I ain't talked to you in a while either. Like to stay in touch with all my YouTube friends. Take a little stroll through the shop. What we think of what? The epoxy? Let's go check it out. Let's go check it out. He says let's go check. See what it says. See, now that side looks smaller than that side to me.
Had a big hump.
See, like there's a big bulge like right here in the middle. It looks like
that one too, I guess.
it just to me like it just looks like it's bigger.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, probably
It's
got
like
a little belly in it.
Towards
right
the
there.
middle, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of lower, just a little bit, right in there.
Yeah, that's what I heard, bud. I hope it straightens out for you. I know it's kind of rough. Well, kinda is an understatement. I know it's rough. I know I've heard about everything. What's up, buddy? It's good to see you. I know it's late, but hey, it's random. We decided to pop on here and see if anybody was on here and wanted to chat. We're not doing a whole lot. We're just in here messing with saws and chit-chatting and figured we'd bring y'all along. Yep. Poland junk. Poland Pro 475. Blow all that stuff down in the crankcase. Oh, wow. Yeah, made a mess. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We ain't good about making messes, that's for sure. It's easy to make one. It's hard to clean it up. Yeah, plenty of beer boxes to clean it up. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did.
One beer box.
Well, we'll have another one shortly. We're working on it. We're working on it. Slowly but surely, we're chugging along. Yes, sir. There you go. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Got 6 people on here. I appreciate y'all coming on here because honestly, I know it's late and I didn't expect this many people to call. Now we got 7. Didn't expect this many people to pop on this late at night. Got 4 thumbs up. We need to change that. We need to get them thumbs up. We need to get that 7 and 7 there.
We got the 2 fucking thumbs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. 307 Joe. Yeah. Yeah, I get that, buddy. You become nocturnal that way. Who's my friend? That's Brennan. I know you've not met him yet, but you will. We'll have to get you around him one day. I'm sure y'all two get along just fine. He's my other saw buddy. I met him through Jeremy, actually. Yank. He come down to Jeremy's one day, and we started chit chatting, and then we got online and started chit chatting. Can we explain what we're doing with the epoxy? Well, the cylinder's in the washer. I'd show you it, but basically what's going on is we've opened up the transfers quite a bit, and the transfers now have finger ports. So when you do stuff like that, it lowers your crankcase pressure, and you have to have enough crankcase pressure to be able to push your gas and air charge up through the transfers. So by filling this in with epoxy, it's going to make the volume a little bit smaller. So therefore, it's going to increase the velocity back up because the transfers are blown out pretty good. You got to have velocity, or otherwise, what that equates to in terms of the saw running is if you've got low velocity, you're going to have a sluggish saw. It's going to be lazy on the bottom. So when you hit the trigger, it's going to be blip, blip, and then it's going to rev, after that. It's not going to be real snappy. So by doing that, it's going to help make the saw a little bit more snappy. Also make more power, if that makes sense. Tried to explain that in the best way I could. When you get past a certain point and you start getting into like experimental stuff, this stuff here is a little bit beyond work saw stuff, because these saws, we don't depend on them to make money and stuff. We just like to play. And we do use them to cut firewood and trees and stuff. But yeah, I'm glad that makes sense, but I try to explain it in the best way I can. Yeah, and there's the fancy screw that he made for the chuck, because my chuck that I ordered was apparently some stupid odd thread. This is a Jacobs chuck for the thing, and Brennan just got that lathe and decided to test. Could you not get a stuffer? Well, that's a lot of extra work, Yank. Trying to get a stuffer into a saw that don't have a stuffer crank is a lot of work. There's a lot that goes into it. You can ask Brennan. He's doing that right now, and he's putting a stuffer in a saw that shouldn't have a stuffer in it. This right here is a good example of what you're talking about right here. I bet you'll never guess what that is, Yank. Take a good long look at that, and you can tell me if you can tell me what's going on here. And if you can't, then I'll explain it to you. You can take a look at the cases. There you go.
More epoxy.
More epoxy. You can take a good long look at that.
There too.
I can tell you right now that crank don't belong in those cases. That's your one tip I'll give you. That crank does not belong in those cases. And I will tell you this, that saw there is the John Zared equivalent of a 372 or 371. 371 to be exact. It's the John Zared equivalent of that saw. Well, that's good, Joe. I'm glad it makes sense, bud. You got to have that velocity. Yeah, I know, Yank. We've talked about it, bud. I try to explain it to where everybody can understand. That's why I don't get into like full-blown details about it. I just give like a broad spectrum of what's going on so you can kind of understand a little bit about the saw and what's going on in there and what we're doing.
We're done with that.
No, it's not a newer saw. This is these built in the 90s, I think.
1990,
1990.
97 on that one.
Somewhere in there. These saws were built in the 90s, so it's not considered new.
It's a partner.
Is it like an 044 crank? Oh, yeah, Michael. Hey, bud. Good to see you.
Not really.
No, not really. I mean,
More similar to like a 372 crank. Or,
yeah.
I mean, the rod's different, but the crank throws and stuff are pretty similar.
What's going on? The one I showed you. You talking about the red one? That one over there? That one? Not this one? Just trying to make sure we're on the same page. Try to answer all your questions. Try to help you understand. How you doing, Michael? How's Trina and how's the family doing? Figured I'd ask, because I ain't talked to you in a while. Yes, the red one, enlighten you. Okay, so hold on a minute. Let me get another beverage here and we'll talk about it. We'll run over here and talk about it a little bit more. Okay. Enlighten us all, he says. Okay, we can do that. We can do that, bud. All right, let's got us another beverage here.
I needed a lot to get to that point.
Yeah. All right, so y'all just bear with me right quick because I'm free-handing you and I'm trying to get my beverage in the koozie. There we go. All right, we're good. All right, so I'm going to get around Brendan real quick because he's grinding so I don't disturb him. All right. Trina's hanging in there. Could use some sleep. That's good. Well, I'm glad she's doing okay. Sponge and Steve would be proud of my beverage. Yeah. I drink a little bit of everything. This is not what I drink all the time. But,
You can drink all the time when you're here.
yeah, when I'm here, this is what I drink. I'm glad she's doing okay, though, Michael. I'm glad you're doing all right. And I understand the whole sleep thing because I've kind of been in the same boat myself, not been getting but 4 and 5 hours a night myself for the past couple weeks. But, okay. So, this started life as a 2171 John Zared, which is a 371 equivalent. So, it was originally 50 millimeters at 71 cc's. This saw was, okay? So, what you're looking at now is that same set of cases, but it since it's got a, basically, this is a 375K cylinder, which is the same thing as a 372 XPW. So it now went from 71 cc's to 75. And then the crank, these cylinders are basically the same thing as a standard bore 372.
It's the same cast.
It's the same cast, but the bore is larger. The transfers are the same.
Transfers are different. Lowers.
The lowers are different, but
They're
there's
different.
they're the same, almost the same size. The only difference is this area right,
Big step in it.
this big step right here. No, these aren't quite 52 millimeter. These are 51.4 millimeter. That little step right there where my thumb's at is where the casting stopped. So these transfers are the same size as a standard bore.
There's a 50 right here.
They're about the same size as a standard bore. He's going to get that regular cylinder right now so we can compare. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Here is
Actually bigger.
the standard bore. Yeah, it might actually even be bigger.
50.
This is a standard bore 50 millimeter right here in my hand. And then that's the XPW cylinder. You can see the difference.
Big wall in it right
And I'll
there.
back up the camera just a little bit. You can see the transfers. So yeah, you can see that the standard bore transfers are actually quite a bit larger than XPW.
Now you can remove all that, but
You've got a lot of meat in that cylinder there to be ground. You can grind a lot out of those lower transfers to make it what these are. And you can still grind a lot out of these because I have to make a 372 run really good. This is a standard bore OEM cylinder out of a 372.
that's the one off of that saw.
Yeah, he says this is original cylinder off of this saw. This is the one that's going on it. This was off of a concrete saw. That's why it says 375K.
That one will go.
But the XPW cylinder was the same. Okay, so that's the cylinders there. So hopefully you understand that and you've seen the differences. Okay, so when it comes to the crank, 371s and 372s did not come with the full circle stuffer crank. Okay, as you see here, Simple Man, good to see you, bud. I'm glad
There's the OEM crank.
glad to see you're still awake. Yeah, here's the OE crank. So this is a non-full circle crank right here. As you see, this is a 372, 371 crank right here. This is what you're looking at. Okay. This one in here, as you can see, has got the stuffers. It's a full circle stuffer crank. This crank that's in this saw came out of a 575.
Crusty as hell.
Come out of a 575 Husky. 575s and 372s shared some similar. They were similar in certain ways, but they were also completely different saws.
They're very similar and very different.
It gets a little bit complicated because 371s and 372s were old design. 570s, 575s, 576s are all like a newer design. They go from the 3 series to the 5 series, so it changes quite a bit. You go from just a basic saw to like a strato-charged, lean running saw.
They are more similar than you would think, though.
The 575s and 576s were heavier than the 372s, and they didn't make much more power. They had a little bit, just a little bit more than a 372, but it wasn't enough to justify the weight difference. The 372 was just a better all-around saw. No, the cranks will not just interchange.
Here's what it takes to put one of them cranks in there.
Brendan's got pictures. This is what it takes to put a crank in one of those 307. That tool right there that Brendan made, he made this whole tool. And what do you call that, Brendan? What's the word for this? Just
A case trencher, I would call it.
he calls it a case trencher.
Kind of popular.
That right there,
more
this-
popular in the
that right there,
moped and four-wheeler world.
That's a little carbide bit, is it not?
It's a boring bar, yeah.
Or a boring bar, carbide tipped bit that he bored the cases out in like round. You can see the shiny area. That's all been cut.
But you can see how it looks. It's all painted.
All that shiny area has been cut in a circular motion. You can't just go in there with a Dremel and Dremel that out because it
You
won't
could, I guess.
be. You can, but it won't be as nice and as pretty as that. It won't be symmetrical.
And then here's when I.
He used that was a, go back one, yeah. Okay, so go back to right there, leave that. Look what that is, guys. I'm sure most of you know what that right there is. Yeah, I know it is. This is next level stuff. This is the kind of stuff we get into late at night. I'm sure most of you know what that is right there. Who can tell me what that is right there? Who knows what that is right there? That had a lot to do with what's going on right there. Okay. So you can scroll now. So there was the finished, yeah, router. Michael's right. Yep. Okay, that was a wood router. And he used that to cut this magnesium case. So you can see what's going on here. This is one of the case halves. This is a split set of cases. You're looking at the inside of the cases right here. And you can see where that router went in there, and he hogged all that out to make more rotational clearance for that stuffer crank, because there's not.
I needed more width because it was wider.
Yeah.
But I needed it one way.
Yep.
Not both ways.
So that you got
only one half is done.
So
like
that's basically, like I said, more rotational clearance.
Correct.
So you have, because that crank there will not fit in that case.
It's shorter on the PTO side.
Yep.
And everything, and this is not the only thing that had to be, but there it is, all kind of dry fit together.
Yep. That was when he first kind of sort of got it in there.
Yeah, I dry fit it all together, and
he had some issues at this point. You're looking at, he had some issues that he had to go back in there and address.
Getting the clutch side, getting the PTO side figured out was the next.
So what a full circle crank does for you, if you don't know, a full circle crank gives you less crankcase volume. So therefore you've got more velocity through the transfers. So by doing this, you can blow the transfers way out on a saw and still keep your crankcase velocity because you've got less area in there. Or you can stratocharge it. Yeah, you can stratocharge like the engineers did, introduce a little bit more air and make saws run crazy, like stupid. It can be good and bad. You just got to be really careful when you get into stuff like that. But this is a 2171, John. 2071.
Early.
So this was a 371 equivalent. So it's the same, in line with the 372. This was the predecessor to that saw.
The only difference is the cases, or the main difference is
the cases was the big difference. The case
on the crack in the bar mount.
The webbing inside of these weren't quite as strong as a 372. They had a lot of issues. Like guys out west,
yeah, they had a lot more webbing in them.
Would run longer bars on these cases and bust them right in here. They would crack. They would crack like right along up through here in this area between the studs, and they would crack down through there. And sometimes it would break around the studs because the guys would run long bars on them, like 32s and 36s and stuff like that. And it would.
I went ahead and addressed all that. Wow.
Yeah, Brendan went ahead and addressed all that by epoxying it. So there's epoxy.
Epoxied on the inside too.
Yeah, behind where the bar mount is, there's epoxy, and all the webbing's been fixed on these cases. So he's basically strengthened these up, and they're probably just as strong, if not stronger, than a 372 set of cases.
And then to compensate for the material I took out of the actual rotational assembly, I epoxied all the webbing in behind everything. Well, you can see it.
Yeah.
Here. Both sides are epoxied.
He wanted to make it nice and strong.
I didn't want this thing to break after all this work.
Yep. Okay, so back to the crank.
'Cause I'm going to use this saw.
Yeah, this is going to be, if he gets this thing right, this is going to be his primary work saw, I guarantee, because he's going to love it so much, he's going to want to run it a lot. So it'll get a lot of use around here. And he does cut firewood because he's got a wood burning water stove that heats the water, that heats the house and runs your showers and all that good stuff. So he does burn a good bit of wood. But back to that. So by keeping the full circle crank, it keeps your crankcase pressure up. And then also, by having a full circle crank, you get a little bit less vibration because it's a little bit more balanced. So you get a little bit, in terms of simplicity, you get a saw that's a little bit smoother running by having that full circle crank, if that makes sense. And by being able to keep it more balanced and less harmonics, you can run it at a higher RPM without having to worry about stuff breaking. That's in terms of like, we're getting into like engineer type stuff here, guys. Thank you, Michael. I'm trying to get there, bud. We've just had a lot going on with my grandpa and everything, so we've just been not putting out a whole lot of videos, but I'm trying to get back on track with things and start putting things out again. And I'm hoping we'll get to 2,000 subs pretty quick and hopefully surpass it. But I appreciate it. But hopefully that makes sense to those of you that care and were listening. If you have any more questions, ask and I will do my best to explain. But that's basically the gist. That's like engineer terms, engineer type stuff here we're getting into. Basically,
That's 272 piston.
yeah, that's a 272 piston also.
Yeah.
Single ring, because these, 371s did come standard single ring.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. They come standard single ring.
Correct.
372s were double ring. Except maybe some of the early models. You might find some early model 372s when they were making the transition, they might still have single rings. But for the most part, a 372 chassis is double ring. But this here has a taller wrist pin height, right? Correct? Had a taller wrist pin height?
The crown's a lot higher on that.
Yeah. So therefore, this piston is going to be a lot higher up inside the cylinder. So it's going to increase compression and combustion pressure. And we all know what that means. It means more power.
However,
There's still going to be more machining to do. And
machine that piston for me. I took it down there.
yeah, Bellhopper, Jeremy Bell, machined this piston.
That matter of fact, he supplied the piston.
This piston was a
Scored up piston.
This piston was scored, and it was a 52 millimeter piston to start. So they machined it down to 51.4 millimeters to accommodate, to fit in a 371. No, not a 371, a 372 XPW cylinder, or 375 cylinder. What was that question? Let's see here.
That piston is custom. You can't buy it.
Did you have to pop up it to get squish? No, bud, not yet.
You would if you were keeping the head on that.
Yeah, if you were keeping the head on this, you would.
On a spacer.
But what's going to happen too is he's going to cut the cylinder. I think you could build a set of stuffers to put on a stock crank.
I looked at that route.
Yeah, we've looked into that, and it
wasn't going to be good.
It wasn't going to be feasible because you're looking at balance issues. You'd have to send it off or have it balanced.
It wasn't even that. It was the way the crank was made around here. This is a lot thinner in here, because the stuffer indexes on the crank journals. Well, not the journal, but in here on the casting, it indexes in here on both
the counterweight.
sides. On both sides. This one has no place to index. All right. So I put the stuffers on this crank, and it just wasn't going to be a good option because this was going to have to be cut back all the way down. And I don't know if you ever tried to cut one of these before, but they're hard.
Yeah,
they are hard.
This is simple, man.
It wasn't going to be it was going to be way more work to try to accommodate stuffers onto this crank than it was to just
I've got
Use
2065
the crank.
case and a few 372 cylinders. Just got to put a piston cylinder and other plastics. Yeah, it'll be good, bud. You'll make a nice saw if you do that.
This crank is taped like this because this flywheel had to be clearance because this crank is a lot shorter
Oh yeah,
all the way around.
I forgot about that too.
Yeah, that
So,
flywheel's been cut. On
You
the
can't
back.
tell. You can't tell it by looking at it from right here.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of that flywheel cut.
But that flywheel has been machined. You can see it from right there at that angle. That flywheel has been machined a good bit too.
It's been machined here.
Yeah.
On that flat face.
He had to
and
make-
it's been machined here. I changed the angle, the pitch of the pin to clear the transfer ducts.
Yep. You can see that right here. He did, because it would hit the transfer caps on the cylinder, or not the caps. There's not caps, but the bulge.
The ducts.
The bulge here. It would hit, and rather than taking material off the cylinder, he took it off the flywheel. So therefore, it would fit here when you're looking at it.
It's just easier, and that way I wouldn't have to worry about grinding through on the transfers.
Yep, he wanted to keep as much material here so he has more to grind on the inside. But you see what we're talking about here, right there. There's very, very little clearance.
Yeah, I mean that was
And
that
before-
was machined to fit.
Before it would rub, so
Yeah, I got the inside machined, and then I
you can see that now. There's
slid it back up on there. And
there's
it was-
clearance
It was hitting, so I just changed the angle of that.
in there, and that's what he's saying. He changed the angle of the blade here, the flywheel fins, so it would line up and match with the transfer bulge here.
Yeah, there were some.
So there's been a lot, needless to say, there's been a lot of machine work that went into this. It don't look like much looking at it, but if you know these saws, basically going to be a lightweight 576. No, it's going to be a 375 X. It's going to be a 372 XPW with a full circle crank is what it's going to be. Because it's not strato charged. You can look. You're looking at the intake right now, and you can tell that by looking at it. It's not strato. I don't know if we have a strato cylinder around here or not.
One right
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Yep. He's getting a strato cylinder right now. Okay. So this is a 575 cylinder right here.
That crank would originally came in. That's the saw that crank's out of, matter of fact.
Completely different. So the one on the right is strato charged. You can see that because you've got,
Fresh air ducts.
yeah, these right here are fresh air ducts, and this is your main area right here for fuel air charge. And then you can see the transfers here are way different. That's your transfers on this.
Yeah, they scavenge around the exhaust to
Yep.
gather the heat.
Yep, they sure do. They scavenge around the exhaust to gather heat. That's what he said. And then you can look right here.
None of that.
That's a quad port, basic
Sure.
basic old
Standard
design.
Quad port job.
Completely different. And I'll go ahead and tell you right now, guys, there is a big difference on the weight of these cylinders. Like, it's really noticeable. Like, this cylinder here is super light compared to this big bulky thing right here. This thing's heavy.
A lot of aluminum.
A lot of aluminum, a lot of material. It's a heavy, and the pistons are completely different too.
Here you go.
There's a chewed up
575.
575 piston that's been chewed up right there. And you can see the skirt is way longer.
Oh, and it's busted out on the intake side.
Like, that's the skirt, and the way the transfers are, the windows, you can see. This one's chewed up really bad, but you can see the difference. This piston here is huge, like bulky and heavy. Like, this piston weighs a good bit compared to that. So it's a lot more rotational mass. So therefore you get a sluggish.
See how much the weight difference is.
The piston has met its match. Yes, it has.
Yeah, that piston.
It ate something that it wasn't supposed to.
Those things are good for busting skirts out.
Yep, the skirts get weak down here. They wear thin right here. They get wear on them. They rock back and forth. I'm about to take care of this. Build's interesting. Thanks, buddy. Good night. Hope you have a good night. But they wear thin down here from where the piston rocks over time, and it wears thin, and they break off. Is what he's saying there. Okay, so here's the scale to prove it. So there's your
371 piston,
81 grams.
single ring,
No ring, brand new piston.
nothing on it.
This one here's been
This
broken
one's got
off.
stuck.
This one's
But yeah, there's a lot of the intakes.
there's
are
broken off, but there's your comparison. So you're at 101.7 grams. So you're over 20 grams heavier, and that piston there has material missing. So if that piston there was complete,
It does have the rings in it. All right.
yep,
However,
there's
got
a lot of material
huge chunk
missing.
of it missing.
Good night, simple man.
Yeah.
But if that thing was not missing all that material, it'd probably be another couple grams heavier than that.
And to note, Meteor pistons are heavier
Yeah,
than OEM pistons.
Meteor. This is a Meteor piston, and they tend to be quite a bit more bulky because Meteor beefs up their pistons. They make them.
They're good quality pistons.
They're great quality
They're
pistons.
just heavy.
These are good for, well, anything, but if you're going to make a really good, nice running saw, you want to lighten these up a little bit, but you got to be careful when you lighten them up. You can't.
You trim a lot of fat off.
You can trim a lot of fat, but you got to know where to grind it at, because if you grind it in the wrong spots, you can weaken them up a lot and make them bust and, well, basically grenade a saw. You don't want that. There's a lot that goes into this, but you can see all that material in there. You can take a good bit.
I mean, that's good Lord.
Yeah, he's gonna cut the top of the cylinder off, and he's gonna make his own head and combustion chamber. He's gonna shape the combustion chamber how he wants it,
I am going to do an angle plug though.
and he's gonna have an angled plug rather than a straight on plug because he's wanting it all to still fit under the original covers, and because it's still gonna be a work saw. It's gonna be a play work saw.
It's gonna have fins in it. It's gonna have pulling pins.
It's gonna be a work saw with attitude.
Yeah, it's gonna have fins in it and everything. It's gonna be just like.
Yep.
But I'm gonna make a head to accommodate this piston without cutting it. No pop up.
It's just gonna be a flat top.
None of that. Yeah.
Flat top
head,
piston.
It's gonna protrude past the top unless there's not enough Nicosil to do it, and then maybe we'll trim that if we have to. As long as we're on Nicosil with the ring,
Send it.
we're gonna send it. Yeah. Hard.
And he's also, something else he's done here is he's modified this. This is a 572 cover. This is the West Coast 572 cover.
Non-captive bar nut.
He's going to have non-captive bar nuts like the modern day saws
That's what it is. Non-captive, and it's gonna have
on,
steel.
or he's going to have captive bar nuts on
Steel captive bar nut.
this saw. So it's going to be like a modern day 562 or, yeah, you can see that there. They don't fall out. So he'll have modern day bar nuts on this old saw.
Yeah, we got some friends at Steel.
Yep,
Get us this shit.
got a couple buddies. Hooks us up.
We can put captive bar nuts in and all that stuff.
So that's kind of sweet. You know, you got modern day features on an old saw.
Big cover.
And the wide clutch cover too, so you got more chip clearance. Look at that chip flap. You got a lot of chip clearance with that, so you can really make them cut and not have to worry about. You can noodle or whatever you want to do. If you do a lot of rip cutting, if you deal with a lot of big wood, you know what I'm talking about. That's the cat's meow right there. You ain't got to worry about it clogging on you. But hopefully that makes sense. I know there's a lot that goes into it. We can sit here and talk about it all night long because there's so much that goes into that. Everybody's gone quiet. Where y'all at? There's 12 people and ain't nobody messaging. Ain't nobody saying nothing. $13 people. Got 15 minutes left on the cylinder.
Like, oh, fuckers got too much time.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. I mean, we take a lot of time into certain things. Obviously,
We don't do this all at one time.
yep. Obviously, like work saws and stuff,
That was over a couple months, you know.
I love falling big trees, 40 inch. Yeah, yeah, buddy. I fell a 307. We just cut
This stuff don't happen all at one time. I just want y'all to know.
307. We just cut an 88 inch tree this past week at work. It was a water oak. We cut a couple 70 something, 74 inchers, and then an 88. Tim Freeman, hello, buddy. Let's see. Let me get this thing where I can see y'all's. There we go.
Yeah,
Tim Basco.
This stuff don't happen all at one time. This is a lot of planning, a lot of not knowing.
Yank
and
Doodle.
machining.
Get you some rest, bud. But yeah, he's right though. There's a lot of planning, a lot of machining. This happens over the course of weeks, months.
I mean,
This ain't something we sit down and do all the time. We just do it in our free time.
this is like stuff that personal goals more than anything, I guess.
I'd say,
I'd never build one of these saws for hire. There's just too much time in them.
yeah, these saws we don't really build for others because I mean, there's just so much work that goes into it, and it's so unpredictable. Is the main thing. Like this stuff, you could put it together and it do really well, or you could put it together and it fly apart. William DeBerry, hey bud.
That's what we don't want to do.
Yeah, we don't want it to do that because there's a lot of machine work, hours and hours of work and stuff that goes into this.
We don't want it to come apart. We don't
I'm doing
want
pretty
it-
good, William. Hope you are, buddy. Yeah, I got one for you, Tim. Come on, come down here and get it. Hang out with us.
We don't want it to come apart.
Uh,
We don't want it to put anybody in a bad spot.
Yep, that's exactly right. But the thing with us is we don't depend on them.
We got 3, 4, 5, fucking 20 saws to fall back on. You know.
Yep.
We ain't out on a job site.
Okay, so to answer your question, 307, it was probably at least 80 foot, 80 or 100 foot, somewhere in that range. It was a big tree, bud, and the whole middle was hollow on the 80 something incher. It was hollow and rotten real bad. When the kids get older, I'll take you up on that offer. You ain't got but one kid, Tim. You got a kid and a dog. That's good, bud. I'm glad you're okay, William. Could you comment on your process for putting split cases back together? Got a couple of 272 chassis and cranks. Never done it before. You already have them split. Yeah, Tin Man's got some good stuff on there for stuff like that. He does a lot of good explanations. I need to start doing more stuff like that myself, but just been...
We got a couple to split.
We've got several to split, and we got a lot of things to part out. Yeah, but I've actually got. If you look on my channel, that little short I posted, that was one of those trees. That little stub. Okay, they are split. Just wondering if you use heat or could use a press. You could do it either way. If you have a press, you can use a press, but you got to be careful because you can break things. If them bearings aren't lined up just right, you can bust cases pretty quick because those presses don't care. But yeah, heat really, really helps out. What you do if you really want to do it is you can heat up,
350 on the
put the crank in the bearings.
About 350
Yeah.
on the case.
Yep, that's exactly right. Put the crank in the freezer and heat the bearings up to about 350-ish. And then you can they should slip
Before
right.
you heat the bearings, don't put the seals in.
Yep.
Do not put the seals in if you want to heat the bearings. The way I heat the bearings is kind of like
You can do it by heating up
Gary does, but
you can heat up a tool. Yep.
just anything that's the right size.
Anything that the bearing will slip up over but won't slide all the way down.
Yeah, heat this thing red.
Yeah, heat this thing red hot.
Drop
Stick
in
it
the
on there.
bearing.
Let the heat from this transfer to the bearing. Don't heat the bearing directly.
Don't put the seal in it either. You will burn the seal if you put it in it.
But if you've got your crank good and cold in the freezer for several hours,
Yeah.
it'll slip right in.
Heat the bearing up and the crank should just fall right in.
It should pop right in, and then once it cools down, it'll be just fine. That's what,
And if you're wondering, if you're working on 272s, this would be the same size.
272s, that's your size right there. So you're at,
This is a little loose in it, but you know,
you're at,
it's
what,
about
600?
16 millimeter, I think, inside. Yeah, 16 millimeter is right at
600 and
685, right? Or no, it's 585.
686.
It's 5. You ain't on 6 yet. There's 6. 585.
Oh, okay,
what-
yep,
is what
okay,
this
he's
is.
right, he's right. Yep, 585. 585. Okay. Yep, that's,
That's the best way to do it if you can. If you can swing something that
Yep.
size, or even a 5/8 piece of, you might can get a 5/8.
you're right, 307. That's the way Hopper does it, and that is one of the better
I don't
better
know if you can
methods.
Get 5/8 in it or not.
So I must have missed a lot at the
They're
beginning. It's modified
16 millimeter.
5, so it's a modified 575 or 570. It's a 5. It's just a standard stock 575 crank in a 371. Got to get some sleep. This has been fun. Take care. Good to see you, bud. Have a good night. Still got 12 people on here. Got some lubrication back in the bearings.
I'm up and down this thing. Flush it. About 2 more times. This all ran yesterday morning.
Yeah, because you got a baseline video, didn't you?
Yeah, I got a video.
Thanks, y'all. I've got pieces in the freezer. You're welcome, bud. Hopefully that helps you out. Try to help everybody if we can. That thing right there is your best friend, too. This vise, chainsaw vise here. It's not really what that's for, but that's what it is now. Got any other yellow
Best
saws?
thing to be said.
Don't have no McCulloughs, John. Don't really dabble in them very much. Unless we get a good deal on the Max, we don't really dabble in them much. Now I do have a couple Poland Pro 455s I need to get rid of. Poland Pro 455s. This is a Poland Pro 475.
Different generation.
But different gen, completely different saw. That's a John's Red design, and the other ones are Pioneer. I have a few John. Got to get some videos of them soon. Yeah, that'd be good, bud. We're gonna go run out real quick. I'm gonna put y'all right there. Go check the weather, and we'll be right back.
Andrew's playing airplane music. Elevator music, I guess I should say.
Yeah. We can't play regular music, so we gotta do something. Yeah, okay, let's see what comments we missed. I'm back, y'all. Alright, let's see what we missed. Okay, I have a few Johns. It's like a 2077.
Exactly like
Yep, it's the same thing. This is just the yellow version. Sold them to you, 307. Breezy. Yeah, it's a little breezy, Tim. A little breezy. It's nice and cool, though. And drain the main vein, so to speak. Have a Super Pro 125 tore apart right now at Woody's Shop in Monroe, Wisconsin, along with 5 other saws. Well, that's pretty cool, John. Hopefully he gets you fixed up and get you fixed up so you can take them out and run them. Gotta get old Bellhopper on the ball and get him back in working on saws so he can get that 125 of his back going. Brendan ain't never ran a 125, so he's got to experience that at least once in his life.
Heard one, man.
Don't get your shoe wet, Drew. Yeah, I'm pretty good at not doing that.
Expert pisser.
Got
Piss now spring.
Yes, now spring. Got the aim just right. Y'all get any rain down y'all's way? Yes, we did. Ground's pretty wet right now, and the road was wet on the way here. Did Hopper go to Florida yet? Yeah, he's done been there and got back, buddy. I think he got back, I don't even remember what day it was. He got back a couple days ago. I think those 2077s are partner designs. Yeah, I think they are.
They are.
Bit of a unicorn design. Yep, you're right. Yep, that's exactly right. These were a little bit different from the rest of them. Because we were just talking about that a little while ago, how they were slightly different from the 505s. Thursday he got, yeah, I think you're right, Tim. I think you're right, bud. I was just with him a little while ago. He didn't do a live feed tonight, so we figured we would. Even though it's kind of a little late, but we decided to do one anyway. Whew. Dang, I was hoping to talk to Morgan and him together. Missed it because I was working. Yeah, I know, bud. It sucks. I get that. He was a church function. Yeah, we were both there, Tim. We went to a sportsman's banquet. They had they fed us and they did a bunch of raffles where they raffled off some hunting items, we'll say. We won't get into full details, but hunting items.
It wasn't a raffle, it was a chance to win. You gotta do PC.
A chance to win, yeah.
That's what our church does. Yeah, you're buying a chance to win. It's not a raffle. That'd be gambling.
Yeah, it's not a raffle because that'd be gambling. So it was a chance to win.
A chance to win. You're buying a chance to win.
A chance to win items, hunting items.
That's feeling better. I'm liking that.
Things that go bang. Yeah. Yeah, but you should have been there, Tim. We didn't win anything, but it was still nice. The service was nice. I had fun at the halls last year with them. Yeah, you got it, Joke. Yeah, that was nice, bud. Yep, you got it right. We just try to keep it as PG-13 as we can because we like to make YouTube happy.
Not sure why.
Did you see my latest video? No, Tim, I didn't. To be honest, but I don't know if I've ever even actually been on your channel. I need to probably go check that out. Has it got to do with Coleman stuff? I still got to get you my Coleman. I got to send that thing to you. I'm pretty sure it works, but it would be nice to have it looking good. Basco sucked missing you. I wish I stayed. Yeah, it'd been nice. Old Tim Basco restores old Coleman stuff. He likes doing that. That's his thing. Coleman lanterns and the grills and the camp stoves and stuff. That's what he likes to do. I've got a little camp stove. Oh, cooker just finished. Ultrasonic cleaner. Been vibrated. Knocked all the dirt and metal off. Yeah. All clean. Just walk over here and see what's going on. Anybody ever run that chain right there? Orbit. Get out of the way, he says. It's not Coleman really, the wife bought. Coming in hot, he says. We got to get out of the way. Oh. Let's see. It's not Coleman really, the wife bought fat cottage cheese and it was nasty. Ha! That's funny, Tim. I won at one of those raffles last year and got a toy that goes bang bang 20. Ticket or 60. Yeah, tickets I think here were $15 a piece. It's always nice when you get those things for free. It went everywhere. I bet it did, Tim. I bet it did. Oh, one of these days we got to get this bench cleaned up so we can start doing 2 saws at one time. There's plenty of room. There's just too much stuff. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That old Super X does a number, don't it? Watch any of Mac 131 videos. No, I have not, bud. I try to keep my YouTube subscriptions limited because I don't have a lot of time. Brendan's making a bunch of noise we can't hear. You want to see a lawn boy? Well, the lawn boy is in that one video, Tim. I actually just scrapped 2 of them today. But I do still have one. I couldn't get it to start the other day because it's been sitting, but it probably flooded out on me. I need to make sure it's still getting spark though, make sure it didn't lose spark on me. I need to get rid of that thing. It's taking up space in the building. I don't even know why I bought it. I just didn't want to see it. You saw, but you want to see it run. Well, we'll have to get it running, Tim. I got to get it out one day when it's not so dang hot. I've subbed to way more than I can watch. Yeah, that's how it goes, 307. I'm about at that point now. I'm subbed about more than I can watch now. I have to kind of pick and choose what videos I want to watch. Because there's no way I could watch it all. I just don't have enough time. Got a few hours in the evening after work to watch videos before I take a shower and get ready to go to bed for work the next day. So there's only so much time. Also, here's something else we can talk about. Right here. There's you another comparison.
John's or didn't have a green coil on either that I know of.
Yep.
That were unlimited.
So this is the coal that came out of that saw, that pole in there. There's only 20. Yeah.
Yeah, the green coal.
Mac 131, he ports 10 series max, and seems most YouTubers don't watch much YouTube because they make videos. Yeah, that's true, bud. It's hard to film and work and live a life and watch other videos too. We try to watch. Yeah, there's a lot of cool guys like that. There's one guy that's building a two-stroke engine that's really cool. I forget who he was, but Bellhopper was telling me about him, and we watched a couple of his videos. He's pretty cool. He built like a prototype two-stroke engine that's supposed to make a ridiculous amount of power. But sitting in front of computers monitoring all night. Yeah, that would be nice, 307, but I can't do that because I do tree work for a living, so I'm not sitting very much. I'm always up on my feet. Never sitting down much except for lunch for about 30 minutes. And then we're right back to work again. Yeah, that's yeah. 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 Yep. I do that about every day after work and try to take it easy. Especially right now, it's just been so hot. It's hard to want to do anything once you got an AC shop or something. It's hard to want to do anything. Brennan's got AC in here, but he ain't got nothing but a little window unit. So even it gets hot in here if it's hot during the day. It's hard. Yeah. Yeah, the humidity is awful. It's right at 80 degrees right now.
Dry though.
Yep, there's your temp. Celsius on the left and Fahrenheit on the right. 80 degrees.
Not a warm 85, 80%, 85.
Humidity is ridiculous right now. That's what makes it miserable. It can be 80 degrees and have like a really high humidity rate and it just be miserable. You can be sweating and not even be doing anything, just sweating, standing around. Tim, I bet it feels pretty good up there where you're at.
98 the other day when I was coming back from South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Since I had COVID-19 back in October, I felt swell like a pregnant woman. Yeah, that'll do it to you. That'll do it. It's 59 right now. Tim says 59, and you're in Indiana, right, Tim?
59 would be nice.
You're in Indiana, I think, right?
About 85.
Correct. 61 here in Northwest Illinois. 61 in Illinois. Yeah. Hebron, Indiana is where Tim's at. He says 59 up there right now. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
71 allegedly.
71 allegedly right now, he says.
Probably
Yeah.
80, 85, 90%
80?
humidity, I'd say.
John said it was.
Just rained a while ago.
John said the high was 82 or 84 for the day. I think our high here was well in the 90s. Moved out to Illinois and not looking back. Yeah, I don't blame you, bud. Illinois is not the place to be. That's pretty rough.
96% humidity.
96% humidity. That's ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah. See, there you go.
71, 96%.
Yeah. That's a bit insane. Yep.
Normal.
That's that kind of like sticky sweat that
That's that normal stuff.
most of you probably aren't used to. Like that's that sticky, icky, gross feeling. Like you're just sweating, but you feel sticky and gross. Just everything sticks to you.
Yeah, like it don't get hot, like compared to like Texas and stuff like that.
Yeah, we don't have that dry heat though.
It ain't dry. It's 80 to 90 humidity.
Yeah, your shirt sticks to you, like your arms, your skin, like your skin sticks to your own skin. It's ridiculous.
It's like sauna.
Yeah. Yep. I know that feeling. 6 degrees here in New Zealand. On fire. That's Celsius though, I'm sure. That's Celsius.
Their seasons are flocked from ours too.
Yep. That's 6 degrees Celsius.
Here's the cylinder if anybody wants to see it. I gotta take some pictures of it.
Here's the Poland cylinder if anybody wants to see it. Who's ready? Who's ready to see the cylinder? We'll display it. Who's ready? I'll show you the outside first. We're not going to show you the inside just yet. See it? That's the outside of the cylinder. Up. You didn't get to see the exhaust. Haha. It's a mall cylinder. Okay. So at first glance, it kind of looks, the intake sort of looks like a 372 intake. Looks almost identical to a 372 intake. If you're looking at that. There's your transfer. So it's got like 372 intake and like 2 series, almost like 2 series like transfers. But here's what's going on inside. Yeah, I bet, Leonard. There's what's going on the inside. There's your porting. You can see that. Let's get over here to a little bit better light. Maybe you can see that a little better right there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. There's your some porting going on. Watch my wood dry. Yeah, there you go, bud. There you go. There's your porting on the. I'm used to the heat with the humidity here in Illinois and Texas. When I was there, it'd be 97 with 97% humidity and it wouldn't rain. Oh, wow. 97 with 97% humidity and wouldn't rain. Yep, we've had something like that. Yep. Anybody know what's going on here? See that? You know what's going on in there? Can you identify? I'm gonna go to bed. Good night, Tim. Good talking to you, buddy. Hope you sleep good. Oh, we're dropping off people. Got 8 now. Losing them. It's getting late. Yeah, there you go. All right. Just played that a good bit. What's the timing of those fingers? Smitty's chainsaws.
They're
Extra.
about 2 to 3 degrees before the primaries.
2 to 3 degrees before the primary, she says. Yep, you're right though, John. It's called finger ports, and yeah, they do add for extra time and extra velocity. Well, not velocity, volume, extra volume. it's a way to get that without really modifying the uppers a whole lot. Should make a pretty strong running saw.
I don't want to widen them much because they're already.
Yeah, they're already wide because these old saws were designed for torque already to start with, so they had wide ports. They weren't really RPM machines. They were torque monsters. So they all had like narrower, wide ports. Yeah. Starting assembly. Getting the piston put back together. Put it back on the rod. Yeah. Allows for more fuel to go up earlier. More fuel and more air. Cheers, Drew. Gotta shoot off. Thanks, mate. See you, bud. See you, Leonard. Hope you have a good one, bud. We'll see you next time. Guess I have to watch Donnie Walker's videos from tonight. I watched a good bit of Donnie Walker stuff. He's a pretty interesting fella. He's very knowledgeable. We're gonna try 307, but if not, it'll be early tomorrow. We're gonna try to stuff it back together tonight. I don't know. I don't know if we'll make it long enough on the live feed to film it or not, but you'll see videos of it. We'll do some filming on it, cutting and everything, so you'll see it. So if you don't see it going back together on the live feed, you know what's going on, and you'll see it in one of the videos. So just stay tuned and keep watching my videos, and you'll see it. Because it won't be the last time you'll see that saw. Out in the country. Yeah, pretty much. John, we're kind of out in the country a little bit. Even here at his house, he's out in the country a little bit. He's out of town. And my house, it's just about the same way. Kind of like, we would call it more like suburb area. Yeah.
Intake, sealer.
Yeah, definitely gotta have the sealer, the glue.
Intake on the cylinder first. It's supposed to be style. Rubber boot.
'I live in a town of 800 to 850 people, and the farm is 9 miles from town. Wow. Yeah, see, that's kind of how it is here. We don't have that much, but we call it like suburb area, kind of, sort of. A lot of farmland and stuff out here. A lot of farmland. Biggest town in the country, 3,500. Soon, kids are noisy. I have to be careful. Yeah, you got to be careful with that. You don't want to wake them up. "30 miles from town," Tim says. It's a good bit.
No, 5.
5 miles. 5 miles from town. I don't know how many miles I am, but I'm about 10 minutes from town. 10, 12 minutes. So it can't be much more than that, either from my house to town. We don't mind the kids, Smitty. Yeah, we don't mind them. Except late at night when you're trying to sleep and they keep you awake, then that's not very fun.
Phillips? Anybody?
Phillips in the house.
Phillips out there?
Phillips in the house.
Took it apart with something.
Yeah, you had to have one. Downtown Chicago is 165 miles east. I'm 31 miles from something.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah. We pack a lunch to go out of town. I bet so, bud. Smitty's Chainsaws, I guess I need to get on there and check out some of your videos.
There's a lot of homo-like stuff. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
About 45 minutes from Penn State. Do a lot of home light, Smitty. I just sold the Holy Grail home light just last week. Had the Holy Grail home light.
This is a cock right here. I'm going to just really.
Finally got rid of it. About 50 or so. He says about 50 or so.
I glued that metal ring in there, super glued it, hoping it would stay.
That's pretty sweet, bud. You got any like XL76s or some of those more popular models that they're starting to, like the ones Buchan's got? XL76s and the, I think 101s or whatever they are. I had a 750. Had a 750. Oh, do you now? That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, bud. What I've seen, those things run pretty good, Smitty. Yeah, I had that 750. The 750, William. That's supposedly the biggest engine home light there was, from what I understand. Now, they made some that were a little bit bigger, but they were made back in like the 50s and stuff, and they were some of the more slower, like reed valve saws. They weren't anything fast.
That one's direct drive.
Yeah, the one I had was direct drive, piston ported. Wasn't no reed valve saw. I was honestly surprised that it wasn't reed. I was surprised that it was piston ported, but I think the 750s were made a good bit later, like the late 80s, early 90s, I think. Some of them are mid to late 80s. Some people say the 3100G is the Holy Grail too, like the 455.
Gear drive, smaller engine.
Yeah, the 3100G is a cool saw for that. It's a different chassis, different year model, but
105.
I think they're 100 cc's flat. The 3100G is 100 cc's. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're 100 cc's. XL15 seems to be my holy grail. I don't think I've ever seen one of those, Smitty.
Got 100 cc. That's the biggest saw we got. Yes, unless you got something bigger.
No, my biggest saw right now is 385.
So low.
I did have a 395 and a 3120, but I sold both of them. Well, I had a 394 also. But
I need the 670.
yeah,
Complete the collection.
yeah. Brennan likes his solos. That's something you won't see too much of, is them solos. I love my 395. Yeah, I need to get me another one. I'm thinking about buying a brand new one. I can't ever find one that makes me happy because they're all beat up and stuff. Which is better, 394 or 395? Well, that's a big argument, John. There's a big argument between that. There's a lot of guys that would say the 394 is better, but when it comes down to getting the parts and being able to run it, I have a 1050, but I don't really see any wood to justify something that big. Well, around here, we do have some big wood that would justify having that or even a bigger saw than that. We've got some 10-foot trees, 12-foot trees around here.
It's not even so much that they're big, per se. It's that they're hard. Wood.
Yeah.
Not.
And it's not even that, yeah, like you said, it's not even that they're big. It's just nice to have that extra power to be able to pull that bar and that hardwood.
You got 5-6 foot trees that are hardwood.
When you get down low, though, and they get to that odd shape, they start getting into, like, way bigger trees. They start getting into, like, 8, 10, 12-foot trees. In the South, you do not see a lot of big CC saws. No, you don't. You also don't see a lot of big bars around here. Yeah, 94 that got converted to a 395. That's because you can't buy 394 parts no more. Like you know that. So in my humble opinion, I think that the 395 is the better saw just because you can still buy parts for it from a dealer if you had to. That's if I was going to buy one, it would be the 395. I mean, if you get a good deal on a 394, go for it, but other than that, a 395 to me would be the better saw. That's just the perfect, I mean, that's the best explanation I can give. You can't go wrong with either one. Both of them are good saws, but 394 has an intake block and a 395 has an intake boot. And the carburetors are different. See my old 044 up there hiding out. 044 right there. Yep, that's the 044 right there.
In case anybody's wondering.
There's what sealer we use to seal cylinders to get, and well, intakes too. That's the sealer we use, if anybody's wondering, like he said. Permatex Moto Seal gasket maker. It's fuel resistant, so you ain't got to worry about gas eating it up.
You can buy it.
You can buy it anywhere.
Any auto parts stores.
Got mine for $400, put quite a bit into it, yeah. Yeah, you can spend some money pretty quick on those 307. I bought a lot of them for about that price. That's about what I spend on the used ones I usually buy, is about $400 and $500 usually. I bought 4 or 5 394s, and I think I've had one 395. One. But yeah. That's all right. saw right there. That lonely solo there by itself, that one right there, is a 690. And then that one right there is a 603. They're the same chassis, but that one's 90 cc's and that one's 103 cc's.
And you got the 680.
Yep, and then the 680 is right there, which is also the same chassis, but also a different cylinder too.
Crank
Yeah,
and cylinder.
same crankcase.
Yeah.
But that's a 680. That one right there needs some attention. And then that right there is a Solo 681, which has had a lot of work done to it. It's quote unquote a race saw. You don't see John's Red Husqvarna Makita Solo around here. There's some dealers around, but FCO, and let's see. Some dealers around here for FCO Makita, just not many around for sold. Mostly Steel and John Deere. See, around here we don't have a lot of
I mean, that's a Solo I saw too. The green one.
yeah. That saw right there.
Craftsman branded.
That saw right there is a Craftsman branded Solo. That one right there.
Nothing Craftsman about it.
That right there is a unicorn saw. You'll probably never see another one with that tag on it. Now, you might see another one that looks like that one, but you'll probably never see another one with that tag on it. Red Max is kind of one of those oddball things. So the newer Red Maxes that they manufacture now are basically Husqvarna's. Because Husqvarna owns Red Max.
They have for several years.
Was the Homelight 410 a Solo?
Yes.
Yes. I had one of those, John. I had a Homelight 410. I never did get it running. It needed an intake boot and some other things, and I didn't want to deal with it, so I just sold it the way it was. But yeah, going back to that, what's that, a unicorn? That up there, I've never seen another one. It's the recoil cover says that it's a 162 SE, but it's not. That recoil cover is not the right decal.
I think that's original though.
It could be the original, and that could be like a prototype saw. We're not for sure, but the badge on that saw right there says 170 CD Husqvarna. 170 CD. And if you look that model up, you won't find nothing on it. And if you do, if you find a thread on that saw, it'll be by Kevin Smith, and it'll be that exact saw right there on the internet right now. If you look that saw up, 170 CD. If you look up 162 SE, you can find things. We think that right there is a 162 SE, quote unquote, but that right there being 170 CD on the tag was a prototype ordeal. We're not sure exactly what that is, but apparently it's really rare. And if you read that thread, it's pretty interesting. It's like a 162 SE, John.
I think that's essentially what it is.
It's essentially a 162 SE, but the tag says 170 CD.
Which was never a thing.
And that was never a saw. Like, it was never produced, as far as we know, in the United States. Now, maybe overseas, possibly, but there's been a couple of guys that... The overseas gurus say that saw right there is not... They don't know anything about it. Like, it caught a lot of attention. and they're interested in it pretty heavily. They're wanting me to measure the bore on it and send them some specs and things on the bore size and a few other things. I just haven't got around to doing it yet, but I need to do that, and I need to get that thing down and get it running one day. It'd be kind of interesting to see. Dirt Road, how you doing, bud?
That thing probably needs to go to somebody else.
Yeah, it'll end up going to some collector, I'm sure, once I get it going. But I would like to get it running first before I send it down the road.
Yeah.
I'd like to at least get it running. Yeah, glad to see you in the chat, buddy.
Weed collectors.
Like the Echo 1200 and 1201. Yeah.
Overseas only.
Yeah, those were overseas only, and then the ones that are over here were imported. Because over here in the States, Echo's biggest saw was 80 cc.
Yeah, that was never domestically available.
They didn't meet emissions for the United States. Yeah, the Echo CS 800P, that was an 80 cc saw. You're correct. They had the 800, and then back in the day, they had the 8000.
Yeah, they didn't meet emissions. They're essentially like a 070, 090. I mean, they're
Big, bulky.
really, really close. Even in physical appearance. I mean, they're...
Yep, and power too, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure they are pretty close.
I think they were what, 100 and... They were 100 plus cc's. I don't...
120.
Yeah. Doing great. Finally got into a log camp last week. Doing good. That's good. Which is practically the same saw as it's like 670 and 680. Yeah, I think those were a little bit smaller though. I think those were only like 67 cc's. See, Echo didn't have a 70 cc saw for a while. Like they went from 67 cc's to 80. And that was they didn't have a 70 cc saw. They do now. They got that 7310, but then they were 67 cc's. Like that was a good like mid-range work saw, and then you had the big saw, which was the 800 and the 8000. Any thoughts on the 7310? It seems like a pretty good saw, Dirt Road. I think out of the box, they're a little bit sluggish and a little bit turdish, which most Echoes are, but they're very reliable. Very reliable, and they'll last you a lifetime. If you want it to really run, you can have it ported by somebody, and it will run way better. Good night, Tim. But the
Give it a chance, though, because it takes a long time for them things to come to life.
Yeah, they have
10 tanks.
they have a long break-in process.
Very
So
long. They have a coating on the piston.
yep, like he says, they got a coating on the piston, and it takes a good amount of fuel to wear that coating off before they really start to break in. Like somewhere in the neighborhood of like 6 to 10 tanks, or maybe a little more, just depending. You might start seeing some results after 3 or 4 tanks, but it'll really wake up a little bit later on those 7310s. Well, that's really any Echo, to be honest, because
Any Echo.
yeah, that's just how they do it. Why do people normally pay to what? Why do people normally pay to get a saw ported? Well, unless you know what you're doing and you can do it yourself, I don't think that cost of porting was ever talked about. Well, justifying the cost of porting varies on the amount of time it takes to do one. You're looking at one right now. It's a big custom job, basically. I mean, he's got a lot of work into the saw. He's got several hours. I mean, Brendan can probably give you a rundown on how many hours he's got in this thing right now, just at this point. Like he's not even got it back together right. But if you do a port job, just basically like a woods port, you're gonna have 6 to 8 hours worth of work in a woods port job. So, you know, you got to charge a little bit to justify your time, and especially like machine work, because I mean, you got lathes and stuff like that. This equipment's not cheap to use, and it's not cheap to buy. Like, I mean, look at that. You know, you got a lathe, and that's several $1,000s. Okay, so woods porting. Woods porting is porting without machine work. So anything you can do to a chainsaw without the lathe, without machining anything. Tin Man probably does more.
He does a lot of wood sporting.
He does a lot of wood sporting because he don't have a lathe or access. Well, he may.
He doesn't have a lathe.
He may do it, but he does a lot of wood sporting. Bellhopper is hit or miss. He does some machining on some saws, but some saws he does not. It just depends. But wood porting is basically just porting without any kind of machine work. Just grinding and like a base gasket delete. Stuff like that. Anything you can do without machine work is wood porting. Like something like you could literally, if you had electricity in the woods and a grinder and you could port it out in the woods, that's basically what wood porting is. You don't have all this fancy equipment that you can use to enhance the saw. Yeah, woods porting is for dependability and production. Yes, you're correct. Woods porting, it just takes a saw from its factory sluggish ways and makes it what it could have been from the factory if there weren't EPA regulations. If the manufacturers could go hog wild and not have to worry about nothing, they could make them run really good, and they would be awesome, and there wouldn't be no such thing as porting. But because of that, and because of a lot of factors, you know, they can't legally build them that way. There's a lot of things behind that. You could sit and talk about that for hours and days and weeks and months, and there's a lot of stuff behind all that. We're not even scratching the surface here. It's just very basic understanding of this. But hopefully that helps answer your question. So wood sporting is anything you can do without machine work. Basically a wood sport. You can do machine work and still have a work saw though. So don't think that. Welcome to Shop Talk Guy.
Just because.
Ported saws are for display only. Yeah, that's Rich from. He's a chainsaw. His name's Rich, and he's a chainsaw guy.
He does that because he's a dealer, though.
Yeah, he is a saw dealer, so he can't modify saws like that without doing that. But otherwise, he could, if he doesn't say those things in the wrong hands, that he could lose his dealer's license and not be able to sell steel or whatever he sells. I'm pretty sure he sells.
He sells them all. Hell.
He sells about everything, so he wouldn't be able to. He wouldn't be able to sell the saws if he didn't say those things.
Yeah, he can't modify.
Basically, shop time averages $60 an hour or so. Yeah, basically, I mean, machining gets expensive. Like if you go to a machine shop and have like machining done,
they're gonna laugh at you. For A.
Yeah, they're gonna, like most machine shops. If you take a cylinder and you need 10 thousandths taken off the bottom of a cylinder, they're not gonna want to deal that because first of all, it's not worth their time. They charge by the hour. It's going to take them 5 minutes to do the cylinder, or 10.
After an hour of setup.
Yeah, and so they're not
There's a big setup.
they're not going to want to deal with that. So a lot of shops ain't going to mess with it.
Take them over there to that lane and just
I'll give you the rundown over here.
look at what's in it. Just
Like,
start with, just to get there.
yeah, like look, I mean, you've got, so here we've got single phase power coming in. You've got single phase power. This is a 3-phase machine. You obviously can't run a 3-phase machine off single phase power without having a phase converter. So what we've got here is 2 motors synced together here to going into here. Brennan can explain this a little better. I'm probably going to butcher this. But it's,
Got a slave motor.
you've got a slave motor here going into this, which converts it into a, this is like a startup setup here.
You got a single phase.
Single phase. These are both single phase.
This one is.
Oh, that one's single
This
phase.
one's
Okay.
3-phase.
3-phase.
We got a single phase motor here. We got a 3-phase motor. We're using this one to start this one. And then subsequently, after this one starts, it'll run on single phase and it produces the third leg to power
That.
whatever it is that we want to power.
We're powering, in this situation, we're powering this.
Yeah, this, that saw.
Yeah. But right now we're just powering
Whatever.
this.
Yeah.
So this is a 3-phase machine.
Yeah.
So you have to have all this stuff set up.
So if we turn
Yep. He just turned on.
that one,
Yep.
we're running. Then we can start this one.
Put it in gear. Yep. So there you go. So there's your setup to just to get started.
If we turn this off,
That's your setup.
you can see what it does without.
Yeah.
It just buzzes.
That's just with power from, that's just 110, no, 220 coming from the wall. That's 220 coming from the wall, and you just heard it. It just buzzed and wouldn't do nothing. It's not enough. So that's part of the setup if you've just got single phase power coming in. And then the machine, you've got the initial cost of the machine itself, and then the time it takes, your knowledge and skills to be able to run the machine and operate the machine proficiently and do decent machine work, plus the cost of the machine.
Then you got a manual. This is where your setup comes in.
Yeah, then you've got to make this. You've got to make this manual so your cylinder can slip up on it. You've got, if your machine doesn't have a chuck, you got to buy a chuck. You've got all this tooling. You've got these tool posts, all this tooling. You've got, different bits and different lathe tooling and setups, and
All that shit costs money.
everything costs money. Anything machine is expensive. You can buy Chinese stuff, which is what some of this stuff is, like some of these tool posts. Chinese stuff. It's decent quality. It's decent quality, but it still costs money. Some of this stuff, everything in machining is usually around $100 or more. You can guarantee that you're going to spend at least about $100 on something in machining. 100 plus. Like, it can get way more expensive very quickly, but
The tool post without any tools is $170, for that one.
just this piece
Yeah,
right here
that-
without this right here.
That and some tool holders and stuff is like, not much south
So,
of $200.
Things add up. So you have to just basically what we're saying is you could sit here and do this all day. Basically, all that factors in. I mean, you got a lot of initial cost into this, so you have to get
Overhead is what's called.
a lot of overhead. So you have to justify that when you start doing machining. Every time you run this machine,
It needs to make money.
it's got to make money, or otherwise it's not worth turning it on. So you have to add that in the cost of the porting of the chainsaw. So you can go from like a $200 to $250 port job and call it a wood sport and be fine. Or you can get into a $300 or $400 or $500 port job and then add some machining, and then you got a little bit more spicy work saw.
Like, maybe get into shit like this.
Yep, you get into some fancy things.
Start making plates.
You start making parts and jigs and setups to. I mean, that's basically what you could call this, like a jig to hold the cylinder.
And most of this stuff is
Like, it's common
one
things you can.
time. However, if you go to a machine shop, they don't care if it's one time or 20 times. The cost is the same.
Yeah,
the setup's the same.
The machine shop's going to charge you for that piece of metal they had to machine.
They're going to charge you everything.
They're going to charge you for these studs they had to do. They're going to charge you for the holes they had to put, the thread, any threading they have to do. They're going to charge you for each individual piece.
They're going to charge you for that job plus the job you wanted originally.
Exactly. They're going to charge you for making what they had to do to make the part, whatever you wanted done. They're going to charge you. So however much time it takes plus the parts, you're going to end up with several $100s very quickly, and just in taking a little bit of material, just in taking 5 or 10 thousandths off of a cylinder, or 20 thousandths, or however much it is off of a cylinder, so you can up the compression on a chainsaw. So it can get very expensive very quickly.
Hell, where's that man?
Yeah, Brendan, see, before Brendan started machining big time, he had a fella that he knows machined this for him. And he said charged
2 flats on it.
He machined, so this is a flat right here.
2 flats.
That's a flat. He machined 2 of these, one here and one there. And
groove there.
Cut this groove right here, and
one groove there.
And one groove here, and that was
This was already machined. This outside was already machined.
$100
to him just like this. $120.
$120 for that.
Not including that. Just the. And he drilled and tapped for a set screw. For a screw.
Dirt Road said, "Thank you for explaining all that."
It's expensive. I mean, it is.
And then not only that, Dirt Road, if you're still listening, once you get past all that, it's the time that you put into the saw yourself. All the time it takes.
You didn't include any of this.
Like, you have so much time into.
I made this.
All the time.
That myself.
All the time it takes, because it's not only porting. You've got to polish things and make them. You got to polish your exhaust and make it smooth. And you've got, 30 minutes, hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long it takes you to polish those ports so that they do what you want them to do. You polish your exhaust port so that you don't have carbon buildup. Carbon can't stick to something that's smooth and slick. So, if you leave a bunch of ridges and unevenness, you're going to leave places for carbon to build up. So a good quality port job is going to cost you more money because the guy is going to spend more time doing things to it, like polishing and things like that. That's why that man is charging you more, because he has...
You're going to spend less time doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's already done.
Yeah.
However, you still got to get paid for that.
You're
recouping constantly.
You're paying for knowledge and experience and
to do the job.
All the things it takes to do the job. So it
spreads it out over 20 people instead of over one person.
Yeah, because if you were just doing
person, it'd be expensive.
One port job would cost you $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 or however much, because you would have to pay for everything that it would take to do the job. So, like he said, you're basing off of 20, 30, 40, 50 people, however much. You're breaking it down and making your money back. So, therefore...
this is for cutting pistons.
Yeah. That piece of aluminum that took however many hours...
an hour or two probably to machine that. Probably 3 hours by the time you cut the
piston
and everything.
You're right, 307. Once you run a ported saw, it's hard to run stock saws. But you know what my problem is, 307? I have the ability to port saws, but yet...
You got this to cut the damn board carbs out with.
I'm yet to run a ported saw. Dirt road, we're gonna have to change that, bud. You need to get with me, and we need to hook you up with something. We need to get you a ported saw. Do you have any? How many chainsaws you got? What kind of chainsaws do you got through dirt road? We'll have to change that. You got a 372 dirt road? 15, you got 15 chainsaws? You got a 372? 395? Something like that? Or do you like steels? Well, see, like a 372 or a 395 or 394 or something like that would be a really 390, 461. Yeah, any of those, bud. Any of those would be good. Yeah, see, like I do port work for people too from time to time. I don't take on a whole lot. I don't advertise a lot.
Common stuff we can hook you up on.
But like 372s, 395s, 461s, like all that stuff, any of those would be good. In Chicago, he says. Well, see, that wouldn't be bad.
461 coming in the next.
We got yeah, Brendan said he's got a 461 coming to him for port work in a few weeks. And I've got a 064 here. I've got a 2100 Husky here. I've done some 372s. I've done some 395s, 562s, 555, 272s. There's some good stuff, bud. You can make those saws run. You can make a 372 or a 395 run really good. Or 394. Like this is just a saw piling parts right here, just on this shelf. And some of the customer saws are in here. I've done some 200s too, but those aren't. There's not a whole lot you can do to those. Yeah, there's a lot of Woodsport haters. You know, you'll have those people. But those are like the diehard machinist guys, you know. I mean, it all depends on your budget, man. It's all in what you can afford and what you want the saw to do. Your budget and your mindset has to match up. And yeah, haters are gonna hate. That's exactly right. We're gonna go drain the main vein again. We'll be back. All right, we're back. Let's see what we got going on here. Oh yeah, what do you do, Dirt Road? Work for streets and sanitation. All employees need to live in the city. Yeah, that ain't no fun. Living in the city's crazy. Some crazy stuff. Got the cylinder back on. Putting the new, well, not new, but unlimited coil on. So now that it'll actually rev.
Oh, my buddy Drew got NGKs in here.
Oh yeah, those are mine. Yeah. It's a good thing I forgot, dude, I forgot where I put those. Those were the ones I was looking for. Those are 2100 decals.
Alright, well, I'll leave them in there.
I forgot where I put those. I was looking for those a while back.
I didn't even open that thing.
Dang.
What do we have here?
Screws.
Steel stuff. Alright.
I drove from Pennsylvania out. New Farmertech come with limited coils. Do Farmertech come with limited coils? No, not typically, I don't think.
No, negative Ghost Rider.
Most of those are unlimited. Hopefully those plugs are good because I had one fail on me in the 3120. It would act stupid. I swapped it out with another plug, like a used plug, and it ran
I
fine.
hated Champion plugging like it's in a Dodge product from 90s.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
You ever started pressure testing one? Used plugs leak.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like you put your Champion plugs in your 12 valve Cummins and stuff.
I've got one of those. Got Champion plugs in it, I think.
Put your Champion plugs in your 12 valve Cummins.
Yeah. I got Champion plugs in mine.
Do you put Champion plugs in your Cummins?
Yeah.
Always make sure that you run Champion plugs in your Cummins. Champion glow plugs. Technically, they all glow. Dirt Road's laughing. Yeah.
We know like 2 things about the 12 valve Cummins and they're over there.
See, that's a whole nother story. We could sit and have a whole nother conversation about that.
We're gonna have one here soon.
Yeah, we'll be doing some of that. It won't be 12 though, it'd be 24.
Yeah, got a couple more.
What's up, Matt? How you doing, bud? Not seen you on here before. It's good to see you. I know this was kind of spur of the moment, but hey.
You can show it if you want to.
Yeah, okay, we'll go over here. Anybody want to see a Cummins? Anybody who wants to see the Cummins? First, we'll see who wants to see the Cummins. Who's interested? Got to get enough hands before we want to do this, because got to walk over there. Well, Drew and fellas, I'm checking out. Good night. Good night, Michael. Hopefully you sleep good, bud.
You
Starter.
want to see that? Sharker man.
Me. And Dirt Road's like, me.
It ain't quite 12, but it's something.
It ain't quite 12 valves, but it's got something in there.
It's twice that.
You can double the 12 and make 24, and then you might have the whole ordeal here. All right, so here we have a 12 valve head. There's some pistons on some rods and a crank. Then we got a couple camshafts and some rocker arms and things over here and some nuts and bolts and oil pans. And then if we turn over here to the right, 6 in a row, you're ready to tow. Engine in the V, you're ready to sit down in the P. Yes, sir. All right, so over here we got the 24 valve. Got this nice billet cover on there. And if you look over here, you'll see this fancy device right here that stuffs air through the engine. This device right here pushes air through the engine at a high velocity. Therefore, gets rid of the lag that diesels tend to have. Makes them have more low-end torque, power. And then we got a big fat air stuffer to go along with this. We got a small one and a big one. Yeah, he says that's the small one on it already. See there, see that right there? That's the small one right there. 62 millimeter, 29K pounds as that is. Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna have all the boost.